If you're focusing only on the results from these Republican primaries and, of course, the Iowa caucus that we've had, then you're not getting the full picture. Because just focusing on the results, it looks like, holy crap, Donald Trump is doing phenomenally well. And on paper, yeah, Donald Trump is doing phenomenally well. But what you got to do is you actually have to dig into the numbers. You have to look and see who is showing up to vote, how they're voting, what the demographics are, what groups Donald Trump is winning with. And once you do that, it paints a picture of a campaign that is nearly on life support, which I know it's a weird thing to say because Trump is winning, but he's not winning very well. But most importantly, according to an analysis of the numbers in the states where the primaries have already been held, minus Michigan from yesterday, Trump's base is shrinking. He is only winning with people over the age of 50, white people, no college education, which of course are groups that help push him over the edge. In previous elections, those were his strongest groups. But even based on the analysis of what he's getting in these primaries, those groups are getting smaller. I mean, obviously, if you're relying only on older people to vote for you, well, that's a demographic that they can't live forever, right? No demographic can. But that one ages out, moves on from this world, and you have fewer voters. Trump has not, in spite of what he and his kids and other Republicans are telling us, he's not gaining ground with black voters. He's not gaining any ground with Hispanic voters. All of that is make-believe being pushed by Republicans. I know Matt Gaetz recently went out there and said, oh, we're gaining ground with these groups. You're actually not. You're losing ground. Trump has less support from those two demographics this go around than he previously did. What's more important, too, is that you have 20% of the voters in South Carolina and Iowa who voted for Nikki Haley saying, I'll never vote for Trump. You have 30% of the Haley voters in New Hampshire saying, I'll never vote for Trump. Trump is not gaining ground with moderates. He is not gaining ground with independents. He is, in fact, losing ground with those two groups. They're breaking for Haley. And they admit, yeah, if Haley doesn't win, I'm not voting for that guy. Some of them have even said, I will vote for Biden if it comes down between these two groups. Trump's base is not growing. He is not appealing to anyone other than the crowd that has all of his merchandise. The people that lined up to buy those Trump shoes before they sold out, those are the people that support him. But the people who laughed at the shoes, which is most of the country, yeah, they're not going to do it. And here's the other part of the story, right? Because you can't talk about one guy losing ground and not talk about what's happening with Biden. Polls back in November and December showed that President Biden was losing ground with young voters, black voters, Hispanic voters, not women. Women were the ones who continuously push him to the top, which is phenomenal. But he was losing ground back in November, December. Well, a couple months have passed and he's gaining ground back. So while Biden had lost a portion of his base, that portion, according to polls out this very week, is coming back and growing again. So Biden's base had shrunk as well as Trump's, but Biden's is once again growing. We've actually seen that happen quite a lot. Now, I know there's a lot of online people who say that, Biden's policies regarding Israel and Palestine, like I will never vote for him because of that. That's a very small subsection of the liberal online left, I guess we would call them. And I'm not saying I approve of Biden's policies there, but I think what happens is that you have some of these extremely online people who overestimate the importance of foreign policy. Again, I am not trying to downplay for any second what is happening. But what I am saying is that when the chips are down and Americans go to the polls, foreign policy, even during Iraq and Afghanistan and all that, and Vietnam, it did not play the role that politicians and some voters thought it would. At the end of the day, it's domestic issues that always rise to number one when November rolls around. So That is what we're starting to see with Biden's poll numbers. That's why they're rebounding a bit. That's why he is, according to some polls, once again back ahead of Trump. He's ahead with the young voters, the black voters, Hispanic voters, way ahead with the women voters. And Trump is struggling to gain anyone that doesn't already own a MAGA hat. So when you look at it that way, yeah, Trump's in trouble, Biden's doing better, and if this trend continues, November could be a piece of cake. Could being the key word.